Today we would like to present our analysis of intercultural communication barriers based on the 2011 film, The Help.
So, what is the movie The Help about? The movie The Help was released in 2011, directed by Tate Taylor, and is an adapted version from Kathleen Stockett's novel. It is set originally in Jackson, Mississippi, at the peak of the civil rights movement. The movie follows Keita Phelan, a white ambitious writer who secretly interviews black domestic workers, notably Evelyn Clark and Minnie Jackson. The main purpose of this interview is to record their working experiences in white households during the Jim Crow segregation era. So, what is the main role of intercultural communication in this movie? And how does The Help show intercultural communication to its viewers? The movie demonstrates key intercultural communication concepts such as power distance, ethnocentrism, and nonverbal communication. It shows how these forces both shape and obstruct intercultural interaction between the two systems present in this movie. Ethnocentrism and racial stereotyping form the cognitive basis of this high power distance culture. It is enforced through language, physical space, and nonverbal behavior. Black characters are forced to accommodate white expectations. But genuine intercultural communication only becomes possible when Evelyn and Minnie choose to share their story, but on their own terms, via Skeeter's novel. But the movie has a main irony. The film tells black maids' stories through a white character's perspective. It is replicating the very power distance imbalance it critiques. This makes The Help a suitable example. It shows unequal intercultural communication between its characters, while its own storytelling mirrors the same imbalance.
Okay, now we will analyze 5 arguments from the film, The Help. My parts focus on ethnocentrism and stereotypes as barriers to equal cross-racial communication. Ethnocentrism means judging other groups based on the values and standards of our own culture, and believing that our own group is better. Stereotypes are fixed and oversimplified ideas about a group of people. In the film, these two factors create minor communication problems between white employers and black maids. One important example is Haley Holbrook's home sanitation initiative. Haley believes that black maids carry diseases and should use separate outdoor toilets instead of the same toilet used by white families. This idea is not based on facts. It comes from racial prejudice and negative stereotypes. Because Haley already has these beliefs, so she doesn't see black maids as equals, which makes fair communication impossible. Another example is what happens to Minnie Jackson. During a storm, Minnie uses her employer's indoor toilet because it's very dangerous to go outside. However, Haley spreads rumors about her and describes her as dishonest and untrustworthy. Many white families believe these rumors without listening to Minnie's explanation. As a result, she loses job opportunities. This shows how stereotypes can stop people from understanding the real situation. These examples show that communication fails when people judge others based on prejudice instead of facts. The white characters believe that their own culture is superior and often see black people as inferior. Because of this mindset, they were not willing to listen to the thoughts, feelings, and experiences of black maids. In conclusion, The Help showed that ethnocentrism and stereotypes are major barriers to equal cross-racial communication. They create misunderstanding, reduce empathy, and make honest and respectful communication much more difficult.
For this part, I will explain how the argument and how the theories are applied in The Help. Our main argument is that the intercultural community between the white community and the black community is unequal because it's take the place in the higher power distance in society. First, use Hofstede power distance series, we can see that power in the films is mainly held by the white community, while black people are expected and accept their lower society position. This can be seen in the many everyday interaction in the films. For example, black people are required to use the bathrooms. They are expected to address their employer with expression such as yes, madams. This example how show that the community is not happening on the equal level, but instead reflect the unequal power relationship between the two groups. Second, stereotypes series helps understanding how this unequal systems is maintained in the films. Many white characters view the black through the mommy the stereotype which the parents black the moms as a lawyer, caring and the naturally suited to serve the white the families, because for these terrorist types discrimination becomes easily to justify the extending social is maintained. So finally, this also affect the cultural identify the black community. The black maintained are often unable to experience this are on opinions experience and the identity feeling. Instead, the identities are shaped by how white the society sees them rather than how they see themselves.
Okay, so now I will talk about nonverbal communication and spatial power. The first point is space and the gaze. On spatial segregation, the film pushed separate bathrooms based on the lie that black people carried different genes. But the real cruelty is the act. Minnie first outside on a stormy night, but hygiene, humanization, she is later banned from the house and freed. Her presence in white space, even in danger, was the crime. Then is the white gaze. Emily lives in daily fear under white security. Worse than the noise, it forces black mind to shrink. No eye contact, no loud voice, no hand raised, a slight internalized several script. Second is a message of the resistance, but the slicer fight back without words. The kitchen looks between Emily and Minnie, outspoken solidarity, and Minnie's terrible pie backed with her own West, feed to Haley. The white master on lodging consumes the black body, a hidden powerful recognition. Finally is the theoretical perspective, communication accommodation theory. Black might deliberately cover page, lowering voice, dropping eyes to survive in white society. So the help shows us power struggles go beyond words. They are about space, posture, and gaze. The slight dimensions are just as context.
Today, I'll be analyzing the help through Hobbes' individualism versus collectivism dimension. Individualism in Hobbes' framework means people prioritize personal goals over group loyalty. Individuals are expected to look after themselves and their immediate family, with weaker social ties and a greater acceptance of confrontation. The white community in the film strongly reflects this. Haley Holbrook is the clearest example. She prioritizes her social status above equality, fundraising for starving African children while mistreating her own black mates daily. Her charity is about image, not empathy. At this scene in the picture shown above, Haley introduces the Home Help Sanitation Initiative, pushing for separate outdoor toilets for black maids. She frames it as hygiene, but its real purpose is reinforcing segregation and cementing her leadership. Through Haley, we can see how extreme individualism can destroy empathy and harm others for personal gains. In contrast, the black maids demonstrate strong collectivism. Hoff describes collectivistic individuals as deeply connected to their social groups, prioritizing group well-being over personal interests. Evelyn is the classic example. Despite facing discrimination herself, she consistently places others before her own needs. When Haley fires Minnie and spreads false rumors, Evelyn stands by her side, offering loyalty instead of abandoning her to protect herself.
As the scene shown in the picture, all the black domestic workers gathered at Evelyn's house, sharing their traumatic experiences with Skeeter. Each woman risked her job, safety, and reputation, but they do it together for the good of the group. This collective courage illustrates collectivist values in action. To conclude, the conflict between individualism and collectivism deepens the misunderstanding between both communities. This film shows how cultural values shape our capacity for empathy. For my self-reflection, watching The Help made me realize how my own collectivist upbringing influences my mindset. I recognized Evelyn's instinct to prioritize the group, but I also saw parts of myself in the individualist drive for personal achievement. Neither mindset is inherently wrong. The problem arises when one worldview refuses to recognize the humanity of the other. Understanding where someone's values come from doesn't excuse injustice, but it helps us to see the full picture.
In this part, I will explain how the anxiety and uncertainty management theory, which is AUM theory, is reflected in the help. First, let's look at the two key concepts of this theory. The first one is anxiety. Anxiety refers to the feeling of worry when communicating with people from different cultural backgrounds. And the second one is uncertainty. Uncertainty means not knowing how another person thinks, feels, or will respond. According to AUM theory, when people experience high level of anxiety and uncertainty, effective communication becomes more difficult. However, this feeling can be reduced through empathy, understanding, and open communication. A good example in the help is the relationship between Skeeter and Evelyn. At the beginning of the film, Skeeter grew up in a racially segregated white community. Because of her background, she has limited knowledge about the life of black maids and is uncertain about their real experience. Meanwhile, Evelyn feels anxious because she worried that speaking honestly about racial discrimination could cost her job or lead to unfair treatment. As the story developed, Skeeter started interviewing Evelyn and Minnie with respect and empathy. Instead of judging them, she listened carefully to their story and tried to understand their experience. This gradually reduced both anxiety and uncertainty between them, allowing trust to develop, and their relationship clearly demonstrates the main idea of AUM theory, which is that effective intercultural communication begins with people are willing to understand each other. As Skeeter spent more time with Evelyn and Minnie, she began to challenge the stereotypes she grew up believing. Through repeated conversation, she developed empathy and gained a deeper understanding of discrimination they face every day. At the same time, Evelyn became more comfortable sharing her thoughts and experience because she feels respected and trusted. This shows that when anxiety and uncertainty are managed successfully, people from different cultural backgrounds can communicate more openly and build stronger relationships. As trust grows, prejudice is gradually replaced by mutual understanding. Instead of focusing on their differences, they begin working towards a shared goal of opposing injustice and promoting equality. Although the film does not completely eliminate racism or social conflicts, it shows that honest communication, active listening, and respect can reduce misunderstanding and strengthen cross-cultural relationships. Overall, the help demonstrates that AUM theory is not just about reducing anxiety and uncertainty, it also shows how empathy, trust, and effective communication can help people overcome cultural barriers and make cross-cultural reconciliation possible.
So, what do we learn from the movie The Help? The movie shows that communication wasn't just about simple misunderstanding, but it came from ethnocentrism, stereotypes, and unequal power. The stereotypes allowed the white people to perceive their norms as normal, hence controlling the black maid's life. They showed power via actions, not simply by words. For example, avoiding eye contacts. But what is the main key takeaway and contradiction in this movie? The main problem is power inequality, not just simple misunderstanding. But real intercultural communications needs listening to someone without any judgment. But the contradiction is that the story needs a white person to allow the black voices to be heard, which is simply contradicting. So, what is the overall message of the movie The Help? The film shows how to build intercultural understanding, but also warns that good intentions can still repeat the same inequalities. This is it for our presentation. I hope it gave you an insightful and deep understanding about intercultural communication via the movie The Help. Thank you.